Howdy everyone, this is H.E.Martin Arts. Today I'll be going into the backstory behind my logo. More specifically, why I chose to have a bearded dragon on it. For starters, I'm going to explain two very simple things about my logo. The first being why I chose stars for the background. The reason is, I just really liked the cosmic look of the stars and space. The second thing is why I called my channel H.E.Martin Arts in the first place. When I was first figuring out what I should call my channel, I was studying other channels' names to maybe get some ideas, but nothing was really working, so I turned to authors of books. And I found some authors who go by their first and middle initials and their last name as some examples, being C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia, J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and finally J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter books. So that's where I came up with the name H.E.Martin Arts. And now, on to the real reason why I created this video. It's to tell you why there is a lizard on my logo. This lizard was actually my pet bearded dragon named Miss Kipling. Yes, I named her after the lizard from the Disney Channel show Jessie, as Jessie was actually my favorite Disney show when I was a little kid, and the lizard, Mrs. Kipling, was my favorite character. So, before I tell you why she's on my logo to begin with, here's the backstory on how I got her. So, before I got Mrs. K, I had two other pets. The first of my pets, and actually the first pet I ever had, not including my family's dogs and cats, was a hamster named Cuddly. He lived to be about 2 years old before he passed away due to cancer. And the next pet I got was a betta fish who I named Happy. She also lived to be about 2 years old before she passed away. Now, after my fish passed away, I started looking into more exotic pets, and before I even knew what a bearded dragon was, I was looking into getting a tiger salamander, but after doing some more research on how to take care of them, I decided a tiger salamander wasn't right for me, as I found out a tiger salamander would just be a bit too hard for me to take care of. Then, a while later, I found out about bearded dragons, and I was immediately hooked on them. I spent a whole 6 months continuously doing research on how to care for them. Also, in those 6 months, I successfully managed to drive my whole family insane, as I literally would not shut up about how badly I wanted a bearded dragon, and everything that I learned about caring for them. So, yeah, that's how I got bearded dragon, is I literally just drove my entire family crazy for 6 months. And then, finally, on my 13th birthday, I got a giant terrarium, and I immediately knew I was getting a bearded dragon, and I was so happy that I started running all around the house before I eventually just fell down completely exhausted from excitement. So, fast forward 1 week later, so on September 12th, my mother and grandmother took me to this reptile pet store. For privacy reasons, I'm not going to say the name of the store, and it was there that I was introduced to a then 7-month-old Mrs. Kipling. And fun fact about me, when I was 13 years old, I actually used to have much longer hair before I decided to cut it down, so now I have shorter hair. The only reason I bring this up is because when I first met Mrs. K and I held her for the first time, the first thing she did when she met me is that she actually tried to eat my hair. After I got her, the first few days were spent trying to get her used to me and used to our family and being held, of course, but once she finally settled in, she loved being held, and it wasn't long before she would just start running all around the house. And despite Mrs. Kipling being much smaller than them, our dogs were actually terrified of her. I don't know why, they just were. Well, okay, I know why for one of the dogs. We used to have a husky named Grizzly Bear, and one day when Grizzly was just laying down the floor, Mrs. K was just doing her thing, crawling all around, and then Mrs. K tried to bite the dog. Like, obviously bite her toe, because, like I said, she was very much smaller than them. And Grizzly was like, nah, I don't like this thing no more. Not much really happened with Mrs. K during my high school years, other than I used her in a lot of my projects, mostly as a model for my art class projects. But one day, one of my science teachers actually allowed me to bring her in to show all of my classmates, and it was actually a really fun day for her. She loves people, so it was a great day for everybody. And this is actually how I made my first friend in elementary school. This kid I used to be friends with in my elementary school before we both had to go to different high schools. We both had pet reptiles. I had Mrs. K and my friend had a snake. So that's how I made my first friend, through our shared love of reptiles. Now, on to my college years, or my first two college years. By the way, for those of you wondering, I went to Durham College taking the animation digital production program, and later on, I took a business program. One of the first projects I was assigned in my animation program was to direct, write, and film a short video with no talking. Since the project was visual storytelling only, I immediately knew I had the perfect actress for the job. So I quickly got to work writing and drawing out the scenes. The story went as follows. Mrs. K was peacefully watching a video on a computer. I can't show this due to copyright, but there is a shot of Mrs. Kibling watching How to Train Your Dragon on my computer, when suddenly a mysterious button appears before her. She presses the button and finds that whenever she presses the button, it grants her a wish. So she starts wishing for some random stuff like muffins, chips, a book, and of course, a picture of herself like the little diva she was. And finally, she wished for a pair of wings so she could fly like Toothless. I had to make her a pair of wings because it was only my first year of college and I hadn't learned how to do video editing yet, so I had to make her the wings. I made the wings from a 3D pen and a hot glue gun. Do not worry, they were not attached to her body. You'll see what I mean near the end of the video. I'll show some videos of her. Side note, only because this was my favorite part, and it shows what a great actress she was. This is the part of the short film where she reacts to seeing the button for the first time, and it's really cute, so here she is. Sometimes when I would animate for class, she would just sit on either my shoulder or on my desk, and Mrs. K would just lay there and watch me work. She also helped me out through a rather difficult time in my life that wasn't just from college stress. I can't really talk about it since it also played a major part in my mother and my stepsister's lives, and I want to be respectful of their privacy as I don't have their permission to talk about what happened, and even if I did, there are some details that not even I am ready to talk about. But don't worry, because all three of us got a happy ending to the situation, and our lives are infinitely better now. So, now on to the real reason I made this video. Tomorrow would have been Mrs. Kipling's 12th birthday. It was 3 years ago, on February 2nd, that Mrs. K passed away. She was just a few days away from her 9th birthday before she had to leave this world, so she was 8 years old when she passed away, which is the typical lifespan of a pet bearded dragon. Even before she died, me and my family kind of already knew that her time was coming, as just 2 months before she was becoming really lethargic, she was barely eating and losing weight, and she started sleeping more often than what was usual for her. So we took her to a vet, and the vet gave us some medicine for her, but even the vet told us to start preparing for the worst, that she probably wasn't going to be around for much longer. I started giving her the medicine, and for a while it was looking like she was eating more and becoming a lot more active. She was just back to her old self again. And this continued for another month until one day she stopped. She wasn't eating, she was rapidly losing weight, and she slept all the time. This all happened so fast. It was like just the previous day she was all happy, running around, completely healthy, and then the next day she she just wasn't. I knew she was still alive because I could still see her breathing, but we all knew what was coming, and even though I knew she didn't have much time left, it didn't make it any easier to say goodbye to her. My aunt is actually a veterinarian, and right before this, she scheduled Mrs. K to be put down in 2 days. Mrs. K would not make it to those 2 days, and the day before she was scheduled to go in, she passed away overnight in her sleep. We don't really know what she died of, but my aunt's best guess, due to her age and how sudden everything was, is that it was failure to thrive, which she basically summed it up as one of her organs failed and then the rest of her body just shut down as well. This year will mark the 12th anniversary of the day I got Mrs. K, and every year on our anniversary, I play a very special song. It's actually the first song I played for her the day that I brought her home. The song is Me and You from the Disney Channel show Austin and Ally. And now you all know why I made her my logo and why I made this video to honor her life and everything she ever did for me. This is the photo I used to draw my original design of her in my logo, and now as a tribute to Mrs. K, I'll be sharing with you all some pictures and videos of her, as well as a poem I wrote for her right before she passed away. So thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please enjoy this little tribute to Mrs. Kipling. Sorry, just one quick little bonus. I drew my lizard as a Pokemon, and here she is.